Hello and welcome to another episode of The Optimize Show. I am David Mamano, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We have a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we're glad that you're here. Would love for you to like, share, do all that great stuff on social media so that more people can get the great content that we are creating on the show, The Optimize Show. As I like to say, the high tide raises all the ships. Today, I have on the show a new friend and a really great business owner, Craig Curran from DePrez Travel. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here, David.
Glad to have you here. So it's pronounced DePrez.
DePrez is correct.
But it's D-E-P-R-E-Z.
Yes.
So I just want to make that clear in case you're looking him up, make sure you spell it correctly.
Yes.
I want to get that, and we'll get the website later too. So you own a travel agency, and want to have you on the show because you're optimizing the business of travel agencies. We're going to talk about that. 20 plus years ago, as the internet took over more and more and people were booking their own travel online, you probably were like, holy cannoli, what am I going to do? And stay tuned because we're going to talk about what he did. But one of the things he's doing, everybody, is galactic travel, right?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
You've partnered with, you're actually going to be on Virgin Galactic. You're on the waiting list.
I am on, well, I've got a ticket. I'm about number 300.
Wow. All right, so we're going to talk about that as well. So that is so cool. So Craig, I'd love to hear about your journey. So you've been doing this for 40 plus years.
Yep.
You have traveled the globe on your own, which is fantastic. You do luxury travel, corporate travel, cruises, and extreme travel, which I want to hear more about. You're on the board of advisors at Visit Rochester with Don Jeffries, who I've known him for a number of years as well. And that's a great organization really promoting why to come to Rochester, which is a great little quote-unquote secret for people that don't know about it, right?
Yes, yes.
So many things to do. But I'd like to start off just hearing about your journey. So how did you get into the business? And I'd love to hear how you navigated the, kind of the change with the internet and how you pivoted to what you're doing today.
So it's a fairly long story. I'll try and give you a high-level, brief synopsis of it. I got out of college and didn't really have any plans, and my dad ran the company, DePrez Travel. He was the owner. And so I went to work for him because there was no other place to go, basically. And I had no direction, hadn't been in, worked for any business, if you will. I'd been in the restaurants all through college and high school. He passed away, and the company was about 3 months away from bankruptcy. So I acquired the stock, bought out his partner, and his partner remained, and started trying to save the company. So I worked 60 hours a week. I paid myself nothing. I got rid of the copier. I got rid of the leased phones. I moved the company from our rental space to, a purchase space. I mean, all the things I could do to save every penny I could.
And when is this? In what years?
This is mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s, okay.
Yeah, early mid-'80s.
Yeah.
And was able to turn things around. And as I got more and more experienced, some opportunities presented themselves. One was my brother-in-law, Howard Jacobson, was at Canandaigua Wine Company at the time, before it was Constellation Brands.
How he's been on the show?
Wonderful entrepreneur and a great guy.
Did not know that was your brother-in-law.
So through that connection, started supporting Canandaigua Wine, and they held their first sales meeting, held it in Arizona. Never had one before. I had never done a sales meeting before, but I did it. It was successful, and that was the kind of beginning of my growth into meetings and incentives, and it started there. And it grew quite large doing that through the years. So that was one direction that I went after I had taken over the company. Another one was in the mid-'80s, cruising was becoming a unique product category. Cruising, when it started, wasn't like today. You couldn't go on the computer and see all the ships and make choices, and there weren't reviews and everything else. It was a complicated product. So I saw a need for specialists. So I opened up an agency called Just Cruises, Inc., which sold nothing but cruises. And in fact, if you came to us for a tour or an airline ticket, we couldn't sell it to you. Very distinct from DePrez Travel Bureau or the other DePrez companies. That proved to be the right thing at the right time. And it was very successful, and it grew very quickly. I was at a seminar one day, and they were talking about the state of the industry and said that 5 million people a year at that time went on cruises. They also said at that time 5 million people a month went to Walt Disney World. I said, wow, if I could open up a business serving just cruises, maybe I can open up a business serving only Disney.
Yeah.
So I did that.
Just Disney.
Only Disney. It's called Wish Upon a Star Vacations. Believe it or not, Disney knows I have the name and let me have it.
Yeah.
That did not succeed for reasons we could talk about later, but that was another attempt that I made to change things. When deregulation really hit the marketplace and when Delta started cutting airline commissions, I was at the airport and I saw a guy get out of a taxi cab and go in to buy a ticket from the airline ticket counter. And he was apparently a person not of means, didn't own a car. His appearance led me to believe that. And I thought, well, how did this guy know to come to the airport and what did he have to go through to get this ticket? And I figured, well, he probably doesn't know travel agencies exist because he didn't need to do all that.
Yeah.
Well, how do you find the airline? We probably went under Yellow Pages to look for airlines back when we had Yellow Pages, the only way you get a phone number.
Right, yeah.
Based on that, I said, well, I'm going to open up a discount airline ticket operation and we're only going to advertise in the Yellow Pages under airlines. So we're going to compete with the airlines directly. We did that, and through some interesting mechanics of our business, the way we were incentivized by our suppliers, I was able to deliver incremental market share to US Airways. I was able to offer a discount to the customer. They saved money and we got new business. And that doubled every year. That was really successful. So it was a discount airline operation.
Yeah.
That stopped doubling when the airline commissions were cut, which Delta started, which is another thing. And there are a series of other things that happened along the way that kind of got us to where we are today, which is a stool with like 7 legs. So when one aspect of travel or 2 aspects are not doing well, or they're not doing well in our company, the others are. And so we've been able to sustain all the ups and downs and trials and tribulations of deregulation, of the internet, of entrepreneurs coming into our industry, which didn't used to exist when it was a regulated business, and all of those things. And we've been very fortunate. Made a lot of mistakes along the way, which we can get into, but we're here and we've been very successful. I've been very fortunate.
That's great.
Very fortunate.
How did you handle what did you do, I should say, to handle the pandemic?
The pandemic was very, very tough. I made a decision that we weren't going to close. So all of our customers needed to be supported as they had to book and rebook and rebook and rebook their trips. Of course, we didn't know how long it was going to go. But we didn't lay anyone off. We went to work share so we could pay them for 1 or 2 days, and then the state through unemployment would pick up the other days, which is a program that the state put out there.
Yeah.
So basically kept everybody working so that we could keep our doors open and do our thing, and we continued our marketing and we stayed in touch with our customers. The thought being that when the floodgates opened, we'd be ready.
Yeah.
And we were able to survive the pandemic. It did reduce our size. We had a lot of people leave the industry. We had a lot of people retire. We had people that died, unfortunately. And staffing became a real issue. People didn't want to come into the office. And there were challenges in how do you bring someone that's not an experienced travel agent or travel counselor and train them virtually. It's almost impossible to do. Yeah. You need to be in that office where you share information throughout the day, constantly. So there were some real challenges with that. But with the staffing, keeping the staff occupied the whole time, with the relief programs, PP1 and PP2, helped out. So we were able to get through it, basically just fine. I mean, my life didn't change. I went to work every day at 8 in the morning and I left at 5. My wife went crazy because there was nothing to do during COVID, as we all remember.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't even know it had happened.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah. It just kept on creating some semblance of normal, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. I wasn't one either who could stay home. I had to get out myself. So I think when restaurants were able to open again at a very limited capacity, I think I was like there on day one, So I'm like, I'll be one of those 1/3 of the people that can be at a restaurant, That's fantastic. So you mentioned some failures, which we don't love that you had them, but we'd love to talk about them so people can learn. So maybe you could tell us about what are maybe 1 or 2 of the biggest failures you had. We say quote unquote failures because everything is a stepping stone to learning and eventual success. Yeah. But it sounds like the Disney thing didn't work out. I think you mentioned something else too. What would you want to tell everybody, like, this is what I learned from my failure? What was a failure and how'd you learn from it?
So the failures that I've had in terms of strategic direction didn't have a whole lot of lessons in for me. They were just things that didn't work out for a host of different reasons. The Disney operation didn't work out because Disney had a very strong relationship on a national level with AAA, and I couldn't compete. I changed my hours. I had Sundays and Saturdays, evenings. We did all kinds of things differently, but we couldn't get the support from Disney to do what we needed to do. So that didn't work. And for the cruise industry, we got a lot of support from the industry. It worked from there. Charlie Cheap Seats, which is a discount airline ticket operation, ultimately went away because of what change in distribution. Where they were no longer paying agents to distribute their tickets, the airlines and things of that nature. But the source of all the failures that I've had have really been in my micromanaging style and my lack of faith and trust in people around me, my inability to delegate, and my self-centered perspective of what business is all about. So it took me, I only realized maybe in 2012 or 2013 that I kind of had it all wrong. I thought the business was there to support me. They were all there for me. And I had the paradigm totally wrong, the pyramid upside down. I was there to help them succeed. And I ruined a lot of good people by not trusting them, by not being able to let go, by micromanaging and saying, I know the right way. And unfortunately for me, I had been so fortunate that I was usually right strategically, at least in the short term. I won all the battles. I could outwork you, I would outthink you, and I got through. But that created in me this sense that I knew what was right all the time, that I was always right, and I wasn't. And people are the core of any business, and I never appreciated that until very late in my career. And it's been very difficult to change that, ingrained personality flaw. To run a better business.
What happened? I mean, it sounds like you went from dictator to servant leader. Was there something that happened that, like, how did you get enlightened?
So there were a lot of life events that took place that caused me to kind of go on a journey of introspection. But what might be of interest to your viewers more is through Virgin Galactic and my space travel, I have spent some time with Richard Branson, and I had always admired him, and I could see the huge gulf in the way he treated people and ran his business in the way I did. I was fascinated by the fact that a lot of the companies have no vacation policy. You can take all the time you want. You come and go whenever you want. You take your hours. Talk about something totally against every bone in my body.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'm there. You're a minute late. I was so distrustful of everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So in talking to him, and a couple of things happened, I decided to take a leap of faith and go ahead and change the vacation policy. Put together a speech for the office, kind of a mea culpa. I'm going to try and do better. I'm going to try and make this a more humane and human workplace. But the only tangible part of that I could show them is we're eliminating vacations unlimited. Whatever you want, take whatever you want. It's best to take care of your clients. I don't. You're all adult. We're all adults. We know what needs to get done. All I ask is that you make sure that you have coverage when you're out, that you fully disclose that. Did that, and at first it was very transactional. Well, I'm going to do this to change the company to make it what? Make it better for me. I'm still in that old mindset.
Right.
But as I went through the process, every time people would put on the calendar they're taking time out, I would have this visceral reaction like, oh, there they go again. They're not working for me. And I asked myself, why am I feeling that way? You've got a well thought out plan, a good policy with good reasons for doing it. This is not, where's that reaction coming from? And the more I looked at that, the more I did it, the less I reacted that way. And it got to a point where I was now actually happy. Oh, you're going to the doctor? Great. I hope there's nothing. You're doing it. Family, wonderful. Spend time with family. Don't think about us. Get out of here. I'd like to think there's a little bit of empathy I gained over the time of doing it. But as that happened, I I changed. So the interesting thing was, it wasn't about me changing the culture and me changing the people around me. It was about me changing myself. And as I changed, what little minor change, incremental that I made, had very, very positive impacts in terms of morale and the way the company operated. I mean, I'm still fighting all my tendencies, but that was a concrete example of how that introspection actually impacted the business.
Well, I think the story there, and congratulations, by the way, because not many people authentically go through that process, right? It sounds like you were kind of, faking it in the beginning, as
Absolutely.
you just said, ultimately for the benefit of you. But then as you became a servant leader, I would guess that your team, you became more credible to them as you were getting value from them getting value, right? And then that is probably what helped increase the morale, right?
I would like to think so. I'm very, very hard on myself and critical in terms of actual change because, I mean, I know me. I know every thought in my mind. And it's hard to change 40 years of behavior. Really hard. Don't underestimate that. And it's a constant battle. And I'm constantly questioning if I'm actually making progress. But there have been changes that I've sensed, and I hope people have sensed a change in me, whether they have or not. You'd have to ask them.
I will.
I don't want to know the answer.
I'm going to call. I'm sure it'd be a good phone call. Well, thank you for that. That's a great story of a man in his business reaching some salvation. So
yes, I'd like to think so.
I love it. You have a book in you. There you go. Everybody has a book. I like to say everybody has a book in them. But most of them should not be written. But yours could be written.
Okay.
So now I want to get into even more exciting stuff. So you do extreme travel.
Yes.
What is extreme travel?
So extreme travel is anything that is pushing the limits and transformational. For different people, that could be different things. It could be a safari for some people and getting close to nature. For me, it started with the space travel. So in 2010, when I became an accredited space agent for Virgin Galactic, I started doing a lot of talking and marketing and promotion around what their space product was. 2011, I bought my own seat. But I got really excited at this notion of pushing limits. So products started to become available in the terms of extreme travel. There's space balloons, there's centrifuge training, volcano viewing, cave exploring, spelunking. Obviously mountain climbing you think of as a traditional type of adventure travel. For some people it's transformational, some it isn't. High performance jets, race car experiences. All of these polar experiences, actually, staying overnight in the Arctic, ice driving in Lapland. I mean, these are all things that are very high adrenaline, somewhat skill-based to some extent. I was closely involved with Ocean Gate and the Titanic missions.
But Aaron Newman, we talk about Aaron Newman, a good friend of mine. He was on that, what do they call it, the little submarine that went down. I think he was like within a year before the one that had exploded, right? So
so I booked that for Aaron.
You booked that.
I know Andy up, and that's right. And I was actually out there that summer. I was on Mission 2, and Mission 5 is when that happened. But there's a network of people that are very affluent, most of them, or are very interesting people. And astronauts are part of this group, professional ones, which are not necessarily affluent, but there's also captains of industry and venture capitalist people and things like this. A fascinating group of people with very interesting stories and an incredible network to be plugged into. So I got really excited as this started to grow, getting plugged into these people. So for instance, right now, I'm working them, we're doing flights at MiG-21s out of Florida, going supersonic. There's obviously other travel potential from these folks, other than the extreme travel, but I really, really enjoy it. When I started in 2010 and 2011, with space travel, I said, somebody's going to be the American Express of space travel. Someone's going to own that market. Why not me?
Right.
Now, I can give you a lot of reasons why not me and why it may
Yeah.
not be me, but that was the thinking.
Yeah.
All right, and there's more and more product now, and it's a really, really
So
cool thing to be
this is
involved
a
in.
niche for you. Not a lot of other companies are specialized in
Very
this.
much so. Very
Wow.
much
So if I want to, do something like you talk about, if I want to go camping in Antarctica,
Yeah.
I could be anywhere in the world, but I'm going to talk to you.
Yeah, I think there are probably a handful of people, around the planet that are doing this to the extent that I am now, but it's not that anyone can't.
Yeah, sure.
And it will grow. There'll be a lot more people.
Is that a
doing
different
it.
company, or it's all under DePrez?
So it's Galactic Experiences by DePrez,
Okay.
which is a DBA
Yeah.
for under
Sure, yeah.
DePrez. There are a couple of S corps, but in LLCs, but that one's a DBA.
So you signed up to actually be in Virgin Galactic. You said 2011?
2011, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. And so tell us about that. Like, how did you get that ticket, and what does this mean? When are you going to go?
So when I became an accredited space agent and I started doing talks around town and promoting Virgin Galactic flights, I was really pumped up to sell it. I wanted to be the American Express of space travel, I had these visions of where I could go, and I kind of drank my own Kool-Aid for that first year, and then said, well, I'm going to go. I had no intention of going to space when I became an accredited space agent, but I really got excited about it, so I bought my ticket in 2011 and thought that I'd be flying very quickly. But in 2014, there was an accident which changed the trajectory of everything that was happening in Virgin Galactic, which is an interesting sidebar because had that accident not occurred, Virgin Galactic would have been flying in 2015 latest. Imagine them with a 9-year head start or an 8-year head start on Blue Origin and SpaceX in terms of where they are doing everything. We would have been way ahead of the curve on that, we being Virgin.
Yeah.
But anyways, there are about 850 people signed up to go. I was number 426 or 427, I think, when I signed up. That's down to 300 and some change because there's been some attrition as people have dropped out as time has passed. And I should be flying in 2027 in the new Delta class spaceships.
Wow. So 2027.
Really excited, yeah. And I've done other fun things. I chartered the Zero-G airplane, brought it to Rochester. We sold it to the public, which is where you go weightless. The aircraft does parabolas, and 15 of them, and 5 of them at lunar gravity, and 5 of them at Martian gravity, and 5 of them at zero gravity, microgravity is what it's technically called, which is the same aircraft they used to train NASA astronauts for weightlessness. And it's been a blast.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to go.
That is awesome. So if people want to have just a crazy experience, everything from Virgin Galactic to camping in the polar,
Antarctic, you can stay overnight there. Yep.
Right. They call you.
Absolutely.
I love that. And or if they just want to go to Rome and have some fun.
They want to go to Rome and have some fun. They want to go on safari. They want to go cave exploring. I mean, it goes on and on. Mountain climbing.
You do everything from tickets to whatever.
Well, I don't personally do everything, but we have people that work in the luxury side of travel. We have people that work in the expedition side. I do a lot of the expedition stuff. I do a lot of the adventure stuff. We have a whole corporate team that does corporate transient travel, meetings and incentives. A team that does that. The cruise travel. We have independent contractors. So there's. It's the people that are doing all the heavy lifting.
Right.
But I can get them to the right person.
Look at that, the new improved Craig.
See? See? That was a little transactional, but it was also a little bit sincere.
It was very sincere. I love it. Well, Craig, thank you so much. If people want to learn more about you and your company, where do they go?
They go to www.depreztravel.com.
Okay, which again is DEPREZ.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
And if you just want a personal introduction, email, whatever, reach out to me and I'll introduce you to Craig. Great, nice guy. Got back to me right away, so thank you so much. And I want to thank our mutual friend Jamie Palmieri for introducing us.
Introduced us.
And actually, I wish you continued great, massive success, and also congratulations on navigating the past 40 years of quite an adventure of just running the business, right? So,
it has been an adventure, that's for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for coming out, Craig. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of The Optimize Show. We're here every Wednesday morning. Like us, love us, do whatever you can to promote the show. We appreciate it. Thank you. Make sure to have a great day and stay awesome.